Back in 1999, during the prehistoric era, I got a Game Boy Color along with a copy of Pokemon Blue version for my birthday while at a Montana's restaurant. Oh, this video is not sponsored by Montana's, by the way, it just happens to be part of the story. Anyway, after the first 2 hours I spent trying to merely get out of the main character's house, I would be faced with well over 100 strange creatures that captivated me from the start. Besides having some favorites, of course, back then I didn't actively think about disliking any of them because they were all new and there was no standard to judge them by, nor any previous generations to compare them to. Fast forward to my adult self and, well...
Pessimism has consumed my soul to the point of questioning my very existence on this forsaken planet.
Okay, not really, but I do have some that I don't like as much as others. Today we're counting down my top 10 least favorite Generation 1 Pokemon. Keep in mind that this is just my opinion based on factors like the Pokemon's design and their roles within the Pokemon world. I like all Pokemon for varying reasons, but there are definitely some in each generation that are my least favorite. Feel free to leave your own opinions on this list in the comments below. Starting off this list is none other than Parasect. Now, I don't actually hate this thing, but it is overwhelmingly meh. In fact, I don't actually mind Paras, whose design sets up potential for a pretty cool evolution, but then we got a giant mushroom with golf balls as eyes and some pincers. Seriously, this thing is just plain creepy and straight up weird. Coupled with this is the fact that it is extraordinarily weak and generally outclassed both in terms of strength and design by other grass and or bug Pokemon from Generation 1 such as Beedrill, Vileplume, Victreebel, Venomoth, and Scyther. To make matters worse, it is hardly encountered in the Pokemon Red or Blue versions, with either it or Paras being found in only 2 places, Mount Moon and the Safari Zone, with a maximum 15% chance of being found. A similar trend is also found in the Generation 1 anime, where it only makes one major appearance and can only be seen briefly 5 other times in 116 episodes. This thing is just ugly, irrelevant, and entirely unmemorable. Sorry, Parasect, but I need you to get several parsecs away from me. Get it? Parasect. Okay. Now this next Pokemon is quite the annoyance, and is a commonly disliked Pokemon for good reason. Zubat is found in almost every inch of any cave in the first 4 generation games, and always has annoying moves such as Supersonic, Astonish, Absorb, and Confuse Ray. Oh, and it evolves into this. What the hell? Now, I may be slightly biased because I had a bat literally fly into my face and flail around near my neck at 5 AM in the morning one time, but bats are overly creepy and annoying, and nothing about Zubat serves to mitigate that. The only things that prevent me from putting this thing higher on the list are that I found 2 full odds Zubat shinies, and that it eventually evolves into this thing. That is, if you can ever find the motivation deep within yourself to give it enough love. At number 8, we have Magneton. Now, don't get me wrong, Magnemite is actually an okay Pokemon. It was one of the only inorganic Pokemon to be introduced in Generation 1, and as a quirky electric type, it serves its purpose well enough. But then they had to go ahead and literally just stick 2 more onto it and call it an evolution. And I get it, Game Freak. Magnets, they stuck together, haha. But this thing is anything but magnetic in design. In fact, you know what? Try that for magnetism. Squirming into the number 7 spot is this smelly pile of steaming purple guck, Grimer. What can I say about this thing? It's literally just purple gunk. Now, ironically enough, I don't actually mind muck. In fact, I kind of like him a little. Grimer, on the other hand, is just way too happy in my opinion. Nothing that looks like this, or that is composed of sludge, can be this happy, unless it accidentally swallowed up some drugs that were disposed along the way. Muck at least looks miserable, scary, and like it is pained with its own existence. It's way more fitting in my opinion. Oh, and don't even get me started on this. Come here, you little... Now this one might be a bit surprising to some of you. As you know, Seaking actually featured pretty high up in my top 10 underrated water-type Pokemon video, and it's true, with Lightning Rod and a solid move pool, Seaking is quite underrated in battling. However, when it comes to design, this thing is vastly overrated. I mean, just look at this. Something's fishy here. It's the exact same thing, but with a tiny horn. Whoever decided to unicorn up this goldfish was lazy as hell. Part of the reason it's underrated in battle is likely because it is just forgotten about due to its terrible design and status within the Pokemon world. At number 5, the halfway mark, we have Electrode. The only thing that can outlazy a literal goldfish with a horn is a ball with a face. To make matters worse, this isn't even the only ball with a face in Generation 1, since this thing evolves from another ball with a face, except its colors are upside down and it has some cheeky, stupid grin. Sure, the Pokeball design is iconic, but why design an actual Pokemon the exact same way? Never mind two. What is the purpose? To come to think of it, if you capture a Voltorb or Electrode in a Pokeball, is that like Pokeballception? Alright, this is getting to be too much talk about balls. I'm moving on. At number 4, we have Dugtrio. This next Pokemon has got the same concept as Magneton going on. Why is it further down the list though, you ask? Well, because its pre-evolution is terrible too, and this fact is just multiplied by 3. Somebody please tell me what in the world this is. Just, what is it? What is underneath it? Who, when, why, how? Oh, a mole, you say? How is this button-nosed literal a mole? And why is this evolution just 3 of them? This is what a good mole Pokemon looks like. Not this, and certainly not this. Well, you know, at least we can't get much worse than this. Oh, what in the... And the bronze medal for being horrible goes to... Dear Lord, Jynx. Where do I begin? Oh, perhaps the fact that this is what I grew up with until it was deemed racist and the Pokemon Company had to change its design to this. What a great start. This thing literally looks like a living grape decided to have a trashy night out at the club. Wait a second, is that the McDonald's mascot Grimace under there? Who in the world knows? Its Pokédex entries say that it seductively wiggles its hips as it walks, and that its cry sounds like human speech. Its level up moves include Lovely Kiss, Draining Kiss, Pound, Body Slam, and Heart Stamp. This thing is so far gone from the rest of the Generation 1 Pokemon that it can't even be explained. Thankfully, Game Freak quite obviously knows what they're doing here and tend not to take this Pokemon very seriously. This allows me to see some hilarity in it, and so it's not quite my least favorite Gen 1 Pokemon. But still, it would be much better if this thing just stopped existing. At number 2, we have another humanoid Pokemon, Mr. Mime. Straight up, Pokemon that are as humanoid as Mr. Mime and Jynx just scare the hell out of me and creep me out. I mean, there are many humanoid Pokemon designs that are fine, even great, but not these two. Like Jynx, Mr. Mime is only available via an in-game trade with an NPC in Pokemon Red and Blue, so it seems there's some sort of link between them aside from how damn weird they are. From its thin limbs to its frail clown-like features to its pale and sickly appearance and its feet that look like they've been painfully curled back into themselves, this thing screams, "I'm a human who is condemned to live as a demented elf clown for the rest of eternity." Also, why does this thing have the Mr. title if literally half of all Mr. Mimes are female? I just can't. And taking the number 1 spot is Lickitung. Ugh, even saying its name makes me shudder. Who in their right mind thought it would be okay to make a Pokemon with a tongue that is 6 foot 6 inches long? This thing's tongue could play in the NBA, for God's sake. And of course, it uses its tongue for literally everything, including picking people and Pokemon up. It's got all the worst features of Golbat, Chansey, Snorlax, and Grimer combined. It's a pink, overweight blob with a disgustingly massive and exceedingly disproportionate tongue. But take a step back from all that for a second. What even is this thing? Like, what would one classify it as? I can't even begin to guess. Well, let's check Bulbapedia for its species. They usually have good classifications on there. The licking Pokemon. Yep, okay, moving on. Let's check out some of its Pokédex entries, shall we? Maybe that will help us understand it.
Its licks cause a tingling sensation. Its long tongue, slathered with a thick, gooey saliva, sticks to anything, so it is very useful. It uses its long tongue to lick its body clean. It checks out whatever's around it by licking everything. If you don't clean off a spot where it's licked you, you'll break out in a rash.
Oh God, why? Before we end off, I'd like to give some recognition to some dishonorable mentions. First is Ditto, whose incredibly simple design is mitigated by its cool transformation capabilities and its usefulness in breeding. Next, we have Execute, whose quirkiness and incredible evolution save it from being included on this list. Tangle is also an interesting one, whose mysterious nature is intriguing and whose availability is limited to the route south of Palatown for some reason, which leaves me liking it slightly more than the top 10. Finally, Geodude's status as a rock with arms is saved by its evolution and the cool way it was portrayed in the anime, primarily through Brock's ownership of one. Anyway guys, that's all for this list. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for some more top 10s like this one. Don't forget to comment down below with some of your least favorite Pokemon, and I'll see you guys next time.